Did you know that the only team in the NFL that has gone undefeated in an NFL season is the Miami Dolphins? Hi, my name is Joshua Portal, and I will be talking about my favorite football team, the Miami Dolphins. So, the purpose of my speech is to inform my audience about the legendary football franchise, the Miami Dolphins. I'll be discussing three main points so you guys can have a better understanding of this franchise. One, the history and a brief origin of the Miami Dolphins. Two, some of their major accomplishments that they have achieved throughout the years. And three, the present team and the bright future for the Miami Dolphins. So to begin, let's dive into the Miami Dolphins' rich history and highlight some of the incredible achievements that have cemented their status as a legendary football franchise. So the first achievement and to me, the most important achievement that they have accomplished in history as an organization and a franchise is holding the title as the only undefeated team in the NFL since 1972. That is when they accomplished that achievement. In 1972, the Miami Dolphins had a perfect season, winning all of their games and having 0 losses. Throughout the regular season, they went 14-0, and then they had 3 postseason games, which are the playoffs, which they won all 3. So they had 17 wins, no losses, and no ties. Also in 1972, making it to the Super Bowl, of course, they played the Washington Redskins and eventually defeated the Washington Redskins 14-7. And fun fact, since 1972, no other team has gone defeated in a season, keeping Miami's historic record alive, which makes me very, very happy as a Dolphins fan. So the second achievement, let's get into the second achievement. The second achievement is having arguably the most winningest coach ever, Donald Don Shula. Donald Don Shula was inducted into the Professional Hall of Fame as part of the class of 1997. The Hall of Fame actually ranked Shula as the most winningest coach ever with 347 wins, 173 losses, and only 6 ties. 347 wins is a ton of wins, and that is no easy doing as an NFL head coach. Shula also holds the NFL record of having coached in 6 Super Bowls in his coaching career, coaching 5 for the Miami Dolphins and also winning 2 for the Miami Dolphins. And 41 years after his perfect season, Shula and that 1972 undefeated Dolphins team were actually invited to the White House and honored by the President of the United States. Their third achievement is the franchise still ranks top 10 franchises in NFL history in all-time winning percentage. The Miami Dolphins hold an overall win percentage of around 55% to 56%, which ranks them the 6th out of the top 10 best franchises of all time. So now that I've told you about the amazing achievements that the Miami Dolphins have accomplished throughout history, I would like to inform you about a brief origin of the franchise. So the Miami Dolphins were originally founded in 1996 by attorney and politician Joe Robbie and actor Danny Thomas. The Miami Dolphins became the 9th expansion team of the American Football League and officially joined the NFL in 1970 when the AFL and the NFL decided to merge together. The Miami Dolphins are one of the 13 teams in the NFL that have won 2 or more Super Bowls, and the Dolphins played in 5 Super Bowls and went 2 for 3 in those 5 Super Bowls, defeating Washington and Minnesota and losing to Dallas, Washington, and San Francisco, which they had a lot of trouble with San Francisco in those years. So let's talk about those 2 Super Bowl wins, of course, while we're at it. In 1972, the Dolphins had to compete against a tough team in the Washington Redskins, which their quarterback at the time was Billy Kilmer, who was eventually introduced into the NFL Hall of Fame in 1999. And in 1973, right after winning a Super Bowl a year prior, the Dolphins had a dogfight against a gritty, relentless team in the Minnesota Vikings, who had a stud, let me tell you, a stud in a running back named Chuck Foreman, who actually made history 2 years later, becoming the first running back to rush over 10 touchdowns, and he hit 13 touchdowns. So now let's talk about some of the Hall of Fame players that played for this franchise, the Miami Dolphins. So this is the most important Hall of Fame player, and this is the most important Miami Dolphins player. And this is, fun fact, this is the only player in Miami Dolphins history to have gotten his jersey retired. So the first player is the one and only quarterback, Dan Marino, which is one of the greatest quarterbacks, if not the greatest quarterback of all time. Marino was a 3-time All-Pro selection and a 9-time Pro Bowl honoree, which is very, very hard to do. Marino was also inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame in 2005, making him one of the greatest quarterbacks in all of history. So then we have the legendary fullback, Larry Zonka, who was actually known as one of the strongest men to ever play football and was inducted into the NFL Hall of Fame in 1989. Lastly, let's get into one of the greatest linebackers of all time and one of the greatest linebackers in Dolphins history, Zach Thomas. Zach Thomas was an undersized linebacker, standing at around 5'10", when the average NFL linebacker height is around 6'1" to 6'2". Nobody thought this guy would ever play down in the NFL, and actually turned out to be an outstanding player and quite the playmaker for the Miami Dolphins. This play for Zach Thomas eventually led him getting inducted into the Hall of Fame, actually very recently, this past year in 2023. Lastly, I would like to inform you on the present team and bright future of this Miami Dolphins team. So let's talk about their current quarterback, and personally my favorite quarterback, Tua Tagovailoa. So Tua Tagovailoa was drafted with the 5th pick in the 2020 NFL draft, actually being the highest drafted quarterback in Miami Dolphins history. So that is already a lot of pressure on the young man. On September 10th, 2023, in week 1 of this NFL season that happened 2-3 weeks ago, Tua Tagovailoa actually threw for 466 passing yards, which is the 3rd most in a week 1 game in the Super Bowl era. And after the 2022 NFL season, the NFL ranked him as the 82nd best player in the NFL out of the top 100. The second guy that gives a bright future is the big man, the big dog, head coach, Mike McDaniel. What makes Mike special is that he actually took the Miami Dolphins to the playoffs in his first year as head coach for the Miami Dolphins, which was last year in 2022. And that was the first time that the Miami Dolphins have reached the playoffs since 2016. He is the 6th head coach in Miami Dolphins history to have a winning record in his first year as an NFL head coach. And the last thing that I love about him is that, and that what I see from him is that he has grit and he doesn't care about anything else except winning a Super Bowl. He also has a very bubbly personality, and he's more of a player's coach, as he is in his late 30s, which makes him easy to talk to players and to conversate with players, not just on the Dolphins, but players around the league. Lastly, the 2 players that give this team an amazing future and are arguably the 2 fastest players in the NFL is Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. Waddle and Hill are not only fast, but they are fantastic wide receivers. It is not only their speed that makes a difference, but it's also their ability to run after the catch and to make a difference even when the ball is not in their hands. They could run on the field and not be thrown to them once, but the defense will have to have their eyes on them the whole game, because if you give them the ball once, they could turn a 5-yard catch into a 95-yard catch for a touchdown with how fast they run. So that is my informative speech about the Miami Dolphins. I hope after all this information I've shared, at least some of you guys will like the Dolphins or like any NFL team in general. And even if it's the Bills, the New York Jets, the Buffalo Bills, the New York Jets, or the New England Patriots, and those teams are the Miami Dolphins rivals, I will not be mad at you. But just to let you know, you guys will never reach our undefeated record. But thank you very much. This is Josh Patel. Thank you for listening to my informative speech. I hope you guys have learned something new and have a great night. Thank you very much and bye.